It began as a quiet discovery, tucked away in the archives of royal history. A document so sensitive that only a handful of people even knew it existed. When Princess Anne was informed that a sealed letter, written by Queen Elizabeth, had finally been located, few expected anything extraordinary. But within hours, whispers spread through palace corridors that the contents had shaken even Anne herself. And if the rumors were true, the letter contained a warning about the monarchy's future. Before we go deeper into what this really means for the royal family, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single update. For decades, stories had circulated among royal observers about private correspondence left behind by Queen Elizabeth. Most of those stories were dismissed as speculation, the kind of palace mythology that grows larger with each passing year. Yet this discovery felt different from the very beginning. According to reports emerging from royal circles, the document had remained sealed under strict instructions and was never intended to become part of the ordinary historical record. It was not a speech, it was not an official decree, it was something far more personal, and perhaps because it was personal, those who became aware of its existence reacted with a level of caution rarely seen inside the royal household. The discovery reportedly came during a routine archival review, a process usually regarded as administrative and uneventful. Archivists, sorting through carefully preserved royal materials, are accustomed to uncovering forgotten notes, correspondence, and historical records. But this particular document immediately stood apart. Its markings suggested unusual handling instructions. Its origins pointed directly to Queen Elizabeth, and its release conditions appeared to be tied to circumstances that had only recently been fulfilled. Almost immediately, word traveled upward through channels normally known for their discipline and discretion. That chain of communication led directly to Princess Anne. Few members of the royal family carry a reputation for duty quite like hers. Throughout decades of public service, she became known as one of the institution's most reliable protectors, someone trusted to place the crown above personal interest. It was for that reason, according to insiders, that she was informed almost immediately. The significance of the discovery was apparent long before anyone fully understood what the letter contained. What happened next only deepened the mystery. Senior aides who were reportedly briefed on the situation became noticeably guarded. Conversations ended when others entered the room. Questions received carefully measured responses. Even experienced palace staff began sensing that something unusual was unfolding behind closed doors. In an environment built on protocol, secrecy itself can become a message, and this secrecy was impossible to ignore. As speculation spread, theories emerged from every direction. Some believed the letter contained personal reflections, intended for family members. Others suspected it held guidance for future generations of royals. A few palace observers quietly suggested something even more dramatic, that Queen Elizabeth had left behind concerns about the long-term stability of the monarchy itself. No one could confirm these claims. Yet the fact that such possibilities were being discussed at all revealed the growing sense of anticipation surrounding the document. The timing only added to the intrigue. The monarchy had already been navigating a period of significant transition, balancing tradition with modern pressures, while facing constant scrutiny from the public and media alike. Against that backdrop, the emergence of a hidden letter from one of the most respected monarchs in modern history felt less like a historical discovery and more like the opening chapter of a story that had been waiting years to be told. Every passing hour brought new whispers, new questions, and new concerns about what Queen Elizabeth may have wanted her family to understand. Those closest to the situation reportedly noticed a change in Princess Anne as she prepared to review the contents. The woman known for her composure appeared unusually reflective, not emotional, not dramatic, simply aware that whatever lay inside those pages could carry enormous weight. After all, Queen Elizabeth spent a lifetime protecting the institution she inherited. If she chose to leave behind a private message under special conditions, there had to be a reason. And as anticipation continued to build, one realization became impossible to ignore. This was no longer merely a story about a forgotten document hidden in the archives. It was becoming a story about legacy, responsibility, and perhaps a warning from beyond one of the most consequential reigns in British history. But what appeared to be a simple personal message soon revealed itself as something far more gaseous and far more unsettling. For years, rumors persisted that Queen Elizabeth had left behind private guidance, meant only for those entrusted with protecting the institution she served for 7 decades. Most dismissed those stories as palace folklore. Then came the discovery that changed everything. As speculation surrounding the hidden letter continued to grow, attention shifted from the document itself to the woman who had written it. Queen Elizabeth was known for many things during her historic reign. Her discipline, her consistency, and her remarkable ability to remain steady through moments that threatened to shake the monarchy to its core. Yet among those who worked closely around her, there was another characteristic that received far less public attention. She believed deeply in the power of written words. While public speeches captured headlines, private correspondence often carried her most personal reflections, concerns, and guidance. Over the years, countless stories emerged about handwritten notes, confidential memoranda, and carefully prepared messages that found their way to prime ministers, family members, and trusted advisors. Unlike public statements designed for national audiences, these communications often carried a different weight. They were thoughtful, deliberate, and sometimes surprisingly candid. Those familiar with royal traditions understood that Queen Elizabeth valued permanence. Spoken words could be forgotten or misunderstood. Written words endured. They remained long after meetings ended and headlines faded. That reality is what made the newly discovered letter so unsettling. According to palace insiders, the document did not resemble ordinary correspondence. It appeared to have been prepared with unusual care and preserved under extraordinary conditions. The restrictions surrounding it suggested intention. Someone had decided that this message should remain hidden until a specific moment arrived. The obvious question quickly became impossible to ignore. Why? As Princess Anne prepared to examine the contents, senior officials reportedly began an extensive verification process. Every detail mattered. Every signature, every date, every archival record was scrutinized. No one wanted uncertainty surrounding a document carrying Queen Elizabeth's name. The process moved carefully, almost cautiously, as if those involved understood they were handling something far more consequential than a simple historical artifact. Days of review reportedly followed, before final confirmation arrived. The letter was authentic. That confirmation transformed curiosity into anticipation. For Anne, the development carried an especially personal dimension. More than anyone else in the family, she had spent decades observing her mother's commitment to duty. She understood the sacrifices hidden behind public appearances. She knew the burdens that came with wearing the crown. And because of that understanding, she likely recognized something others did not. Queen Elizabeth rarely acted without purpose. If she had taken the time to prepare a confidential message intended for the future, then every word inside had been chosen carefully. The atmosphere surrounding the letter grew heavier with each passing day. Palace insiders reportedly began revisiting conversations from the Queen's later years. Some remembered moments when she expressed concern about preserving stability during periods of change. Others recalled her emphasis on responsibility, continuity, and the importance of protecting public trust. While no one claimed to know the contents of the document, many wondered whether those concerns had somehow found their way onto its pages. The timing only deepened the mystery. The monarchy was facing new challenges, new expectations, and a rapidly changing world. The generation that had defined royal life for decades was slowly giving way to the next. Questions about leadership, legacy, and the future direction of the institution seemed more significant than ever before. Against that backdrop, the emergence of a hidden letter from Queen Elizabeth felt almost impossible to separate from the uncertainty surrounding the years ahead. Yet despite all the theories, all the speculation, and all the whispered discussions unfolding behind closed doors, no one truly knew what awaited inside the sealed document. Not the aides, not the officials, not even Anne herself. There was only the growing sense that the letter contained something important enough to survive years of silence. And as anticipation reached its peak, Princess Anne finally sat down to confront the words her mother had chosen to leave behind. Whatever expectations she carried into that moment would soon be tested, because the message waiting inside was not merely a reflection on the past, It was something far more profound, something capable of reopening old wounds while raising new questions about the future. When Anne finally began reading the letter, she encountered words that would transport her back through decades of royal triumphs and crises. The first pages were not political at all. Instead, they carried the voice of a mother, a monarch, and a woman who had spent her life carrying responsibilities few could truly understand. As Princess Anne continued reading, she reportedly found herself stepping away from the questions that had surrounded the letter and into something far more personal. The words did not begin with warnings or instructions. They began with reflection. They carried the unmistakable weight of a life lived under extraordinary pressure. Yet they were written with a warmth that few outside the royal family ever had the chance to witness. This was not the voice of a sovereign addressing an institution. It was the voice of a mother, looking back on a lifetime of duty, sacrifice, and endurance. For more than 70 years, Queen Elizabeth had stood at the center of events that shaped not only Britain, but the wider world. She experienced triumphs that strengthened the monarchy and crises that threatened its stability. Through changing governments, shifting public attitudes, family challenges, and moments of national grief, she remained a symbol of continuity. Yet according to whispers surrounding the letter, she did not dwell on achievements. Instead, she reflected on the personal cost of that responsibility. The Queen reportedly wrote about duty in a way that only someone who had carried it for a lifetime could understand. Duty was not described as glory. It was not portrayed as privilege. It was portrayed as an obligation that often demanded difficult choices and painful sacrifices. Time and again, she returned to the idea that service required placing the institution above personal comfort. It was a lesson she had learned early, and one she never abandoned. Among the most emotional passages were said to be those involving her family. Anne reportedly encountered memories that reached back decades, touching on moments known only to those closest to the Queen. There were reflections on childhood, on shared experiences, and on the unique bond that developed between a mother and a daughter who understood the demands of royal life better than most. These memories were not grand declarations. Their power came from their sincerity. As Anne moved through the pages, the letter reportedly revisited some of the monarchy's most challenging periods. Difficult years, painful headlines, moments when public confidence wavered, and private struggles threatened to become public crises. The Queen did not present these events with bitterness. Instead, she treated them as lessons. Challenges had tested the institution repeatedly, but they had also revealed its resilience. Each setback became part of a larger story about survival, adaptation, and perseverance. For Anne, the emotional impact was impossible to ignore. Throughout her life, she had earned a reputation for strength and composure. She rarely allowed personal feelings to become visible, yet this was different. The words before her were not part of public history. They were private reflections from the woman she had known not only as a monarch, but as a mother. Every sentence carried memories. Every passage seemed to connect the past with the present, in ways that were deeply personal. But beneath the warmth and reflection, another theme gradually emerged. Again and again, Queen Elizabeth reportedly returned to a single belief. No individual, regardless of status or importance, could ever become greater than the institution itself. The monarchy had survived because generations accepted that principle. Personal ambitions faded. Individual struggles passed. The crown endured. That message lingered heavily as Anne continued reading. What initially appeared to be a collection of memories was beginning to reveal a deeper purpose. The reflections were not merely nostalgic. They were building towards something larger. Each story, each lesson, and each recollection seemed carefully positioned to prepare the Capleys, reader, for a truth that had not yet been fully revealed. And as that realization slowly settled in, Anne reportedly sensed a shift in the letter's direction. The comforting reflections that had filled the opening pages were giving way to something more urgent, something more serious. The warmth of remembrance was beginning to fade, replaced by the unmistakable feeling that her mother had been leading her toward a message she believed the future desperately needed to hear. Then the tone changed abruptly, and the comforting reflections gave way to a warning that few could have anticipated. Somewhere near the middle of the letter, Queen Elizabeth reportedly shifted from reflection to caution. What followed was not advice. It was a warning about dangers she believed could threaten the institution long after she was gone. The change was immediate and unmistakable. The warmth that had filled the opening pages began to give way to something heavier, something that carried the weight of experience earned through decades at the center of history. If the earlier sections of the letter had reflected on the sacrifices required to serve the crown, this portion appeared to focus on the sacrifices that future generations might still be forced to make. According to Palace Whispers, Queen Elizabeth was no longer looking backward. She was looking ahead. One theme reportedly emerged above all others: trust. Not trust within the family alone, but trust between the monarchy and the people it serves. Throughout her reign, Queen Elizabeth had witnessed dramatic changes in public life. She understood better than most that institutions survive only when confidence remains intact. Once trust begins to weaken, even the strongest foundations can face uncertainty. Those familiar with the letter suggest that she viewed public confidence not as a privilege, but as a responsibility that had to be earned repeatedly by every generation. That concern reportedly led to some of the most serious passages Anne encountered. The Queen is said to have reflected on how quickly public perception can shift and how easily years of dedication can be overshadowed by moments of division. She reportedly warned that future challenges would not always come from outside pressures. Sometimes the greatest threats emerge from within, not through deliberate attacks, but through disagreements, rivalries, and fractures that slowly erode unity from the inside. For Anne, those words carried particular significance. She had spent her entire life watching the monarchy navigate both public crises and private tensions. She understood how difficult it could be to balance individual personalities with institutional responsibilities. Yet as she continued reading, it reportedly became clear that Queen Elizabeth believed the Suitor would test that balance even more severely. The letter was no longer speaking only about history. It was speaking about the years still to come. The warning reportedly grew even more direct. The Queen emphasized the importance of unity during periods of uncertainty, not superficial unity designed for appearances, but genuine commitment to a shared purpose. According to those familiar with discussions surrounding the document, she feared that personal ambitions, competing priorities, and growing pressures could distract future royals from the larger mission they had inherited. The institution, she suggested, could only endure if those entrusted with it remembered that duty must always outweigh personal interests. As Anne absorbed these reflections, the emotional impact reportedly deepened. The woman known for her resilience and unwavering sense of responsibility was no longer reading a historical document. She was reading what many believe was a final attempt by her mother to prepare the family for challenges she believed were approaching. Every page seemed to carry urgency. Every sentence appeared to ask the same question: would future generations be strong enough to protect what had been passed down to them? That question reportedly became even more personal when the letter turned toward those who would eventually inherit the burden of leadership. The Queen is said to have reflected on the responsibilities awaiting future generations, reminding readers that every era brings new obstacles. The faces may change, the circumstances may evolve, but the obligation remains. The crown endures only because each generation accepts sacrifices on behalf of the next. By this stage, palace officials, who had been briefed on the letter, reportedly recognized its seriousness. What had begun as a private message was revealing itself as something far more profound. This was not simply a collection of memories or reflections. It was a roadmap of concerns. From a monarch who had spent a lifetime safeguarding an institution she believed must survive beyond any individual. Yet even as Anne confronted these sobering warnings, there remained a growing sense that the most important revelation had not yet arrived. The letter seemed to be building towards something larger, something that explained why it had been preserved under such extraordinary circumstances. The cautionary words were powerful, but they felt like preparation for an even greater message waiting ahead. Yet even these warnings were not the most shocking part of the document. According to Palace Whispers, the final pages contained Queen Elizabeth's deepest concerns, not about the present, but about the future. A future she feared could test the monarchy in ways no previous generation had experienced. By the time Princess Anne reached this portion of the letter, the atmosphere surrounding the document had reportedly changed completely. The reflections of a mother had evolved into the warnings of a monarch. The lessons of the past were now being connected to uncertainties that had not yet arrived. And according to those familiar with discussions surrounding the letter, Queen Elizabeth's focus was fixed firmly on one question above all others. What kind of monarchy would future generations inherit? The concern was not about a single crisis or a particular event. It was something much broader. Throughout her reign, Queen Elizabeth witnessed enormous changes in society. Expectations shifted, traditions were questioned, institutions that once seemed untouchable found themselves under increasing scrutiny. She understood that the world her successors would face would be very different from the one she inherited. The challenge, according to reports, was not simply preserving tradition, it was preserving relevance without losing identity. That balance appeared to weigh heavily on the Queen's mind. The letter reportedly suggested that future generations would face pressure from every direction. Public expectations would continue evolving. The demand for transparency would grow stronger. Patience for mistakes would become increasingly limited. Every decision, every statement, and every action would be examined in ways previous monarchs could never have imagined. The institution would need to adapt, but adaptation came with risks. Change too little, and the monarchy could appear disconnected. Change too much, and it could lose the very qualities that made it unique. For Anne, these observations reportedly struck a deeply emotional chord, for she had dedicated her entire adult life to service. She understood the value of tradition, because she had spent decades protecting it. Yet she also recognized the truth behind her mother's concerns. The monarchies, its greatest victories, often came from its ability to evolve while maintaining continuity. That delicate balance had defined Queen Elizabeth's reign. Now the responsibility for maintaining it would belong to others. As the letter continued, another message reportedly emerged, with increasing clarity. Duty must always come before personal ambition. According to palace whispers, Queen Elizabeth believed this principle would become even more important in the years ahead. Individual popularity could rise and fall. Public attention could shift overnight. Personal desires could become distractions. But the institution could only endure if those entrusted with its future remained focused on service rather than self-interest. That warning reportedly carried particular significance when the Queen turned her attention toward the next generation. While names may not have been emphasized directly, many believe the message pointed toward those who would one day carry the crown's greatest responsibilities. William's generation was approaching a moment unlike any faced by their predecessors. They would inherit not only centuries of tradition, but also the challenge of guiding the monarchy through a rapidly changing era. The burden would be immense, the expectations even greater. As Anne read on, the emotional weight reportedly became harder to bear. This was no longer simply a message from the past. It felt like a blueprint for the future. Every concern raised by the Queen seemed connected to a larger vision, one that stretched far beyond immediate challenges. She was not merely warning about difficulties. She was describing the qualities required to overcome them. Resilience, discipline, unity, service. These were the foundations she believed would determine whether the institution continued to thrive. And with each page, Anne reportedly began to understand something that had not been fully clear before. The letter was never intended to address one moment in time. It was designed to guide generations. Its purpose extended far beyond the circumstances that had triggered its release. Queen Elizabeth had spent a lifetime preparing others for responsibilities they could not yet fully comprehend. And now, through these final words, she appeared to be doing so once again. The realization was profound. What began as a hidden document had become something far more significant, a final attempt by one of history's most enduring monarchs to protect the future she would never see. And as Anne moved toward the conclusion, the magnitude of that responsibility settled over every word that remained. By the time Anne reached the final paragraphs, the weight of the message had become almost impossible to ignore. Those who know Princess Anne describe her as unshakable. Decades of service had earned her a reputation for discipline, resilience, and unwavering commitment. Yet the letter achieved something almost unimaginable. By the time she reached the final portion of her mother's message, The emotional burden had reportedly become impossible to contain. This was the same Princess Anne who had spent a lifetime carrying responsibility without complaint. The same woman who faced public scrutiny, personal challenges, and institutional pressures with remarkable composure. Throughout decades of royal service, she built a reputation for remaining steady when others faltered. But according to palace whispers, the words contained in Queen Elizabeth's final message touched something far deeper than duty alone. What made the moment so powerful was not simply the content of the letter. It was the realization of who had written it and what it represented. For Anne, these were not merely reflections from a former monarch. They were the final thoughts of a mother whose presence had shaped nearly every chapter of her life. With every page, the distance between personal memory and public history seemed to disappear. Reports suggest that as Anne continued reading, memories began resurfacing in ways she had not anticipated. Memories of a young princess, watching her mother accept responsibilities that would define an Anne era. Memories of family moments hidden from public view. Memories of triumphs celebrated quietly and hardships endured privately. The letter appeared to connect all those experiences into a single emotional thread, one stretching across decades of service, sacrifice, and shared understanding. Perhaps most difficult of all was the growing realization that the letter represented a final conversation that could never truly be answered. Throughout their lives, mother and daughter had been connected not only by family bonds, but also by a deep understanding of duty. Both understood the cost of service. Both understood the weight of expectation. Yet now the voice guiding Anne through those pages belonged entirely to the past. That realization reportedly struck with extraordinary force. For years after Queen Elizabeth's passing, many members of the royal family continued, carrying out their responsibilities, while adapting to a world without the monarch who had provided stability for so long. Public ceremonies continued, institutional duties remained, life moved forward. Yet according to those familiar with Anne's reaction, the letter forced a different kind of reckoning. It transformed an historical reality into an emotional one. The era was not simply over, it was truly gone. Palace staff reportedly noticed the significance almost immediately. Those accustomed to Anne's calm professionalism were said to be deeply affected by her response, not because it was dramatic, but because it was genuine. Vulnerability was something rarely associated with the Princess Royal. Her strength had always seemed immovable. Yet the letter revealed a deeply human side that few people ever witnessed. The final message from Queen Elizabeth reportedly felt intensely personal. While much of the document addressed the future of the monarchy, its emotional center remained rooted in family. The Queen's reflections on duty, sacrifice, resilience, and continuity carried special meaning for Anne, because she had lived those lessons alongside her mother. The words were not abstract principles. They were shared experiences, shared burdens, shared responsibilities. As news of Anne's reaction quietly spread through palace circles, the emotional significance of the letter began reaching beyond the room where it was first read. Senior aides reportedly spoke about its impact in hushed tones. Family members became increasingly curious about the contents. Even those who had not seen the document sensed that something profound had occurred. What began as the discovery of a hidden letter was evolving into a moment that seemed to resonate across the institution itself. And perhaps that was the true power of Queen Elizabeth's final message. It was not merely preserving memories. It was reminding those left behind why those memories mattered. The letter had become a bridge between generations, connecting past sacrifices to future responsibilities. Its influence was already beginning to extend far beyond Anne's personal experience. Because as emotional as her reaction had been, the story was no longer hers alone. Others would soon confront the meaning of the Queen's words, and the consequences of those revelations would ripple throughout the monarchy in ways few had expected. But the impact of the letter would not remain confined to Anne alone. As word of the letter quietly circulated among senior royals and trusted advisors, discussions reportedly began about what Queen Elizabeth's Ferris message meant for the monarchy moving forward. The impact of the document was no longer limited to Princess Anne's deeply personal experience. What had started as a private discovery, hidden within royal archives, was gradually becoming a matter of institutional significance. According to palace whispers, carefully controlled briefings began taking place among a small circle of senior figures trusted with safeguarding the monarchy's future. The details remained closely protected, but one thing reportedly became clear very quickly. Queen Elizabeth's final message was not being treated as a historical curiosity. It was being viewed as guidance with real relevance to the challenges facing the crown today. As conversations expanded, attention reportedly shifted toward the broader implications of the Queen's concerns. The themes she had raised, duty, unity, public trust, and long-term stability, were already subjects occupying the minds of many within royal circles. Yet hearing those concerns framed through the perspective of a monarch who had successfully navigated 7 decades of extraordinary change gave them new urgency. The letter appeared to transform abstract worries into immediate questions demanding serious consideration. Reports suggest that senior royals spent considerable time discussing the future direction of the institution. The monarchy had survived world wars, constitutional challenges, family controversies, and dramatic cultural shifts. Its strength had always been its ability to endure. Yet Queen Elizabeth's message seemed to suggest that endurance alone would not be enough. The future would require careful choices, disciplined leadership, and a renewed commitment to principles that had defined the institution for generations. As those discussions developed, one figure reportedly became increasingly central to the conversation: Prince William. Long viewed as the future of the monarchy, William suddenly appeared to embody many of the responsibilities outlined throughout the letter. The Queen's reflections on continuity, service, and public confidence naturally drew attention toward the generation preparing to assume greater leadership roles. While the document may not have focused exclusively on him, many believed its message carried particular significance for the future king. That realization reportedly added a new dimension to ongoing conversations within palace circles. William was no longer simply preparing to inherit a role. He was preparing to inherit a vision shaped by decades of experience and reinforced through the final reflections of one of the most respected monarchs in modern history. The expectations surrounding that responsibility were immense. The challenges would be equally formidable. At the same time, concerns about maintaining stability remained at the forefront of every discussion. Queen Elizabeth's warnings about division continued to resonate. According to insiders, there was growing recognition that unity could not be taken for granted. Public trust required constant protection. Internal cohesion required constant effort. The institution's future depended not on individual popularity, but on collective commitment to a shared purpose. The letter reportedly became a reference point during many of these conversations, not because it provided easy answers, but because it offered a framework for thinking about difficult questions. How should the monarchy adapt without abandoning its identity? How could it remain relevant while preserving tradition? What sacrifices would future leaders be required to make in order to protect the institution they inherited? These were not simple issues, and the Queen's message seemed to acknowledge that complexity rather than avoid it. As days passed, a subtle reassessment reportedly began taking shape. Priorities were being examined. Long-term goals were being reconsidered. Discussions that might once have focused on immediate challenges increasingly turned toward future generations. The letter had encouraged those entrusted with the monarchy's future to think beyond the present moment and consider the institution survival decades ahead. What made the situation particularly striking was the growing sense that Queen Elizabeth had anticipated many of these conversations long before they occurred. Her words seemed to reach across time, guiding discussions she would never personally witness. In doing so, she appeared to remain part of the institution she had served for so long, influencing its direction even after her reign had become history. Yet despite all the reflection, all the planning, and all the debate unfolding behind closed doors, one issue continued to linger in the minds of those closest to the situation. The letter had provided warnings. It had offered guidance. It had inspired difficult conversations, but many still wondered whether there was one final message hidden beneath everything else. A final lesson that would reveal the true purpose behind the document's existence. And as those conversations unfolded, one final question remained unanswered. In the end, the true power of the letter may not lie in any single warning or prediction. Its significance comes from something far greater: the final thoughts of a queen who dedicated her life to safeguarding an institution she believed must endure beyond any individual. As the conversations surrounding the document continued, and its message gradually settled into the minds of those who encountered it, a broader truth began to emerge. The letter was never simply about concerns for the future. It was never merely about challenges, divisions, or uncertainties. At its heart, it was about legacy. It was about the enduring influence of a monarch whose reign stretched across generations, and whose understanding of duty shaped the identity of the institution she spent her life protecting. Queen Elizabeth's influence did not end with her passing. If anything, the discovery of the letter seemed to remind those around her just how deeply her values remained woven into the fabric of the monarchy. For decades, she served as a symbol of consistency during periods of profound change. Governments came and went, public attitudes evolved, crises emerged and faded. Yet through it all, she represented something steady, something dependable, something larger than the turmoil of any single moment. That was the lesson many believe she hoped future generations would understand. Institutions survive not because they avoid challenges, but because they remain committed to principles that endure beyond temporary struggles. Throughout the letter, Queen Elizabeth reportedly returned again and again to the importance of service. Not service as a slogan, not service as a public performance, but service as a lifelong commitment requiring sacrifice, discipline, and humility. For Princess Anne, that message carried special significance. Throughout her own life, she had followed the same path. Long before the letter was discovered, she had already dedicated herself to the values her mother championed. Yet reading those final reflections reportedly strengthened her resolve. The document was not only a farewell from the past, it was also a reminder of responsibilities that remained unfinished. The work of protecting the institution would continue. The duty would remain. The mission would pass forward. That reality naturally turned attention toward the next generation. The monarchy's future would not be shaped solely by memories of previous reigns. It would be determined by those preparing to carry the burden forward. Prince William stood at the center of that conversation. The challenges awaiting him would differ from those faced by his grandmother, but the principles guiding his decisions would remain remarkably familiar. Public trust, stability, service, unity. These were not relics of another era. They were the foundation upon which the future would be built. The letter reportedly reinforced an idea that had echoed throughout Queen Elizabeth's reign. Every generation inherits more than titles and responsibilities. It inherits unfinished work. The task is never completed. It is simply passed from one set of hands to another. Each generation faces new tests. Each generation confronts new uncertainties. Yet the obligation remains the same. Protect the institution. Preserve its purpose. Leave it stronger than you found it. Perhaps that is why the document resonated so deeply throughout palace circles. It served as a bridge connecting past and future. On one side stood the lessons of a reign defined by resilience. On the other stood a generation preparing to navigate challenges still unknown. The letter linked them together, creating a sense of continuity that transcended time. And in many ways, that continuity may be the monarchy's greatest strength. It has survived moments of celebration and moments of hardship. It has endured periods of confidence and periods of doubt. Its history is not a story of perfection. It is a story of persistence. Again and again, it has adapted, endured, and moved forward. That was ultimately the enduring message hidden within Queen Elizabeth's final reflections. The future may bring uncertainty. The road ahead may be difficult, but institutions built on duty, service, and commitment possess a remarkable ability to survive. The letter did not promise easy answers. It offered something more valuable, a reminder that the future is shaped by the choices made today. Because while Queen Elizabeth's voice may now belong to history, the choices her family makes next will determine whether her vision for the monarchy's and future survives the challenges still to come. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you in next one.